Going live. 1, 2, 3, 5. This hangout is live and direct. Hello, everybody. Looks like we got a big crowd in the chat room because you guys are probably hoping to see it crash and burn again like last week. I still don't know exactly what caused it, but I have a suspicion it might have been caused by a new piece of software from Rogue Amoeba called Loopback. Since it was looping back, just a thought that might have something to do with what went wrong. But anyway, I've got them looking at my files and and a good description of what happened. So I kept a bunch of the files and was able to document what was going on with it last week. So hopefully they'll come up with a solution. But in the meantime, I uninstalled it and I did have a successful Skype call this week. So maybe it's going to be okay this week. I'm just sorry to tell you that. I know you guys want to see it crash and burn. You enjoyed it, right, Steve?
Oh, it was lovely. Yes, we should do that more often. By the way, Rose asked a question about the chat. I'm sorry, the app, iOS app.
What about it?
And scrolling not working, and the latest beta version does have it working. So when Donald rolls that out, that'll be fixed.
You will have to type that to her because she can't hear you. Unless I turn you on and you hear yourself twice. You ready to do that?
No. But
so you're going to type her the answer?
She might be watching the video.
If she's asking about the app, she probably isn't, huh?
Well, maybe she's typing on the app and watching video.
Okay, she's listening to me just talk to you, knowing you're saying the answers, but you're not going to type with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So, Rose, if you get the beta, get on the beta program, get a hold of Donald Burr, you should get a version that doesn't have the scroll problem. All right. Oh, Sybil's in the house. All right. It is time for roll call for sure. We got Steve, Brett, Kevin, Kirshen is back after a long absence. Dorothy, NC6446. Howdy doody. How are you? Lovely to meet you. Nick G is back again. We got a NosillaCast away. What is that full name? NosillaCast away 824 has joined us as well. We got Rose from Australia and Mark bringing up the rear with Mark has no internet and no power. And I told him, hey, you got the app on your phone, get in the live show. And there he is. And I see Sandy jumping in and out a couple times there. All right. Wait a minute. Sybil's talking, but I don't see. Oh, yeah. There she is. I said Sybil. All right. There we go. All right. Let's do a. Before I start, Sandy, how small is your wrist? Because Pat gave me this custom-made leather band. I want you to notice there's no metal at all to touch your wrist. Now, it's a little hard to get on and off because the clasp is underneath. So it's got like a hidden pin down inside there. I don't know if you can see that. But you have to press these two pieces together to get the pin to engage. It's really hard to use, but I think it might work for you once you get on, but it's pretty small. I have tiny little wrists. So I will send you this if you think it would fit you or you're interested. There we go. All right, Sandy says, looks interesting. Okay, so maybe measure around your wrist and I'll find out whether it would fit before we send it over. But yeah, it's real nice leather. It was custom made, sadly enough, for her, but she apparently didn't measure her wrist correctly because it's too small for her wrist. So it's kind of neat. All right, I was going to do a test recording. Let's give this a shot. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Let's hear our playback sounds. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast. Can you guys hear that, Steve? You're muted. All right, playback's okay?
Yes, playback is good.
Okay, Kevin says it sounded quiet.
Play it one more time.
Yeah, you weren't paying attention, were you, dear? Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever. So I can boost that if you want.
Maybe a touch quieter, but then your live voice. And then the music.
Let's go. Let me go with a 150. Kevin, see how this is for you. Come on. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek. Is that better?
That's better. I'll get the phone.
Okay, thank you. You'll unplug it for me? All right, let's do it. because we've got a lot of recording to do. We've got one listener recording, and other than that, it's all me all the time. Thank you, dear. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, March 13th, 2016, and this is show number 566. Well, in Chit Chat Across the Pond this week, we had an awesome time with Stuart Chaffee. Had him back on the show. He was on here quite a while ago, a couple years ago. He's known for his long television run of the Computer Chronicles and Net Cafe from the 1980s through 2002. If you go back and watch those shows on the Internet Archives, you'll find that rather than being comical because the technology is such old news to us, you'll notice how insightful Stuart is about the future. In this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond, I ask him to talk about the present and future of artificial intelligence and why it's so scary. I ask him about self-driving cars, where he thinks we're going, and how fast are we going to get there. Finally, I challenge him to convince me that virtual reality is really going to be a big thing. You're going to have to listen to find out if he succeeds. Now, do remember to search for Chit Chat Across the Pond in your podcatcher so you can get all of the episodes. Okay. Where are we? How does that show up? Huh. Interesting. Oh, there it is. So let's see. I got to fix a couple of typos in that. And I'm going to dig right into something so scary, not scare. And wait, there's how to get there. Steve hasn't edited for me. All right, we're going to go look at my MSATA thing.
Where is your editor?
Huh? Do you want to see it?
No. I thought those were edited by somebody.
The intro you don't ever see beforehand.
Ah, got it.
Yes, quality control director Steve, but you leave a lot of typos in, dude. You're not as critical as you should be in your typo checking, in my opinion.
I like to leave a few more for you to catch, so you feel like you're doing something useful.
Sybil's at it again. Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. Even if you didn't come up with that yourself, Sybil, that is awesome. Okay, so we want to be here, and this should be NCF. I can't believe it took me this long. Just last week, I wrote a text expander snippet for the show number. Really, seriously, I typed that thing for 564 times before I did at a very minimum, for 564 weeks before I did a text expander snippet. So that's good. All right, so this is going to be. So Stephen Getz has been trying to get me to do chapter markers in the podcast. Do you guys care? Would you guys care if there were chapter markers? Would that help you? Because it's $20 to buy the app to do it. So I haven't decided if it's worth it. So right in there, maybe I should do a survey.
See if maybe remind them what chapter markers do for them. Some people may not know.
I don't know. Steve's saying, what do chapter markers do? I don't know. You can jump past commercials, I suppose.
Basically, you go to a section that's marked.
Yeah, you go to a section. So you could go to an article. Now, I could see that could be useful if you were driving when you heard it, and then you want to go back and just jump and re-listen to a part. It might be useful. Sandy says, doesn't matter to you. Kevin doesn't care. Rose doesn't care. Nick doesn't care. Stephen actually offered to do the chapter editing for me, but, oh, really? A free app. There you go. I do have ID3 editor, but I use that to put in other stuff, but I don't know if it does chapters. May make it tougher to fast forward through podcast depending on how many you put in. Well, I would kind of put in one for each article, right? Each blog post, basically, sort of like that. Oh, chapter markers from an XML file. Yeah, you would think it would just be an XML editor, right? Why does it need to be $20? Small audience. That's probably why it's expensive now that I think about it. Yeah, I know Mac Geek App has chapter markers. Okay, I got to get to work. Here we go. I've mentioned quite a few times that Steve and I had a Drobo FS network-attached storage device, which was really painfully slow, so we replaced it with the Drobo 5N. The 5N is also network-attached, but it has an accelerator bay which accepts an mSATA SSD. This accelerator card caches frequently accessed data and thereby speeds up the overall performance. Steve chose a Crucial M500 120 gigabyte mSATA SSD for our Drobo 5N based on the recommended list at Drobo. We've been delighted with the speed of the 5N over the last year and a half. Once the Drobo actually mounts, the speeds for anything short of video editing are fabulous. I mean, I can even edit photos across the network. It works really, really well. Well, like I said, we've been humming along with that configuration since around September of 2014, so about a year and a half. But this week, we got a fatal error message from the Drobo dashboard software saying that the accelerator SSD had failed. Steve went online to find a replacement card, and the newer model, the 550 from Crucial, was running $128. He was ready to hit buy when I stopped him. I'd heard over the years that Crucial is a great company and stands by their products, so I thought it was worth a shot to see if they'd help us out. I opened a live chat with Crucial and told Crystal how we'd been using the mSATA SSD and that it was a year and a half old. I asked her whether by any chance the drive would still be under warranty. Her answer surprised me. She wrote, "It's not uncommon for our SSDs to fail in Drobos. This is due to them not allowing the SSD to sit idle long enough to do garbage collection. Active garbage collection will clean the deleted cells in your SSD that can build up over time. Much like when you finish a meal and your plate is empty, it is still dirty and must be cleaned. Deleted files can leave the same concept of residue. This can cause the SSD to slow down, freeze, crash, and eventually not being able to boot. Cleaning out the drive should get it working again, and instructions can be found here." She put a link to a forum post. Now, I know I sometimes really tease out the end of a story, but I'd like to take a quick moment to explain what garbage collection is. I've heard about garbage collection a lot of times, especially from Dave Hamilton on the Mac Geek Gab, but I never heard a concise enough description for it to sink into my brain. I found an article on the SSDreview.com written by Kent Smith. He's the director of product marketing Flash Components Division at LSI Corporation. Well, LSI makes flash components, so I'm thinking this guy probably knows what he's talking about. I put a link in the show notes to the entire article that walks you through not only garbage collection, but also trim. And I don't understand trim yet either, because I haven't read that section yet. I'm going to give you a shortened version of what Mr. Smith explains in his article, but I highly recommend reading it, and especially looking at the diagrams. They really help explain it better than I'll be able to here, but I'm still going to give it a shot. There's a big difference between spinning hard disk drives and solid state or flash memory. With a hard disk, if you change some data, new data can be rewritten over the same location on the disk. Solid state drives, or SSDs, cannot do that. Instead, they leave the old data in place and they write to a new location. Garbage collection is the process of cleaning up that old invalid data. That sounds fine. You've got your garbage collector sweeping up behind all the time, right? But it's not quite as easy as it sounds. Flash memory is divided into blocks, which is further divided into pages. Data can be written to any empty page, but only whole blocks can be erased. So if you've got some invalid data and some valid data in the same block, the invalid data can't be erased from the block until that valid data gets moved to another block. Only then can the old block be erased, allowing new data to be written to the pages in that block. That's the process called garbage collection. So you can see why if the Drobo is never giving the SSD downtime to perform garbage collection, that the SSD would finally or eventually become corrupt and unusable. All right, that's my shortened description. Again, go look at the SSDreview.com link in the show notes. It's really, really good. It's only like a page or two long, but it's really good with those diagrams. All right, back to our story. I was pretty happy that Crystal, my new little friend Crystal, knew all about the Drobo's use of the mSATA SSD and knew it was wrong. I mean, she knew it instantly, and more importantly, she knew how to fix it. I thanked her and I signed off of chat. I went over to the crucial knowledge base article she'd sent me to read about on how to fix the problem. Turns out the basic process to allow the SSD to perform garbage collection is to hook it up to a Mac or a PC and let it sit idle without the computer ever communicating to it. They said to boot the Mac into startup disk mode by booting with the option key held down, and that puts you into where you can choose which startup disk you're going to, and then you had to let it sit for 6 to 8 hours. Now, luckily, I've got an 8-year-old MacBook lying around that I could just leave idle for that long. Well, that was all well and good, but I would need a way to hook this thing up to the Mac. Now remember, this is just a bare SSD in my hand, but it's an mSATA SSD. I do have a universal drive adapter that I thought I could use. I love this thing because it lets me hook up 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch bare SATA or even IDE storage devices to my Mac without messing with enclosures. I also like it because it's a puzzle. It's really fun to try to remember how to put it all back together each time. There's a little black plastic piece that has all kinds of connector holes in it. It's got a SATA cable, a power cord, a transformer, and an IDE cable. It's just all kinds of little pieces. So it's an adventure in logic to piece it together each time. Unfortunately, I wasn't to have that adventure, though, because the SATA cables wouldn't connect to the mSATA connectors on that SSD. The mSATA connectors were too small. I got back on chat and I was delighted that I got Crystal a second time, so I didn't have to explain everything over again. I told her that I didn't have an easy way to hook it up to my Mac. At first, she explained that they don't support the use of their SSDs in Drobos. Well, this was kind of curious because, as I mentioned, Drobo recommended their SSD. Now, the good news is that Crystal said she'd send me a replacement SSD anyway because it was under a 3-year warranty. She did kind of say, yeah, this is the only time we're going to do that, though. I don't know about that. Anyway, I'm glad she did the right thing because I would have been just a tad annoyed if the warranty had not been honored. We were going to have to wait for a few days for the replacement mSATA SSD to be sent to us. Steve and I got real curious about whether this really was a garbage collection problem. So Steve bought a little circuit board for under $10 that works as a carrier for the mSATA SSD, and then it has a standard SATA connector on it. So that meant I got to take the mSATA SSD, put it in the SSD carrier card, then do my entire little puzzle with the universal drive adapter, and I was able to plug it into the spare MacBook. I followed the instructions to boot up into startup disk mode, so it just got power for 9 hours. Unfortunately, when I put it back in the Drobo, it still reported a fatal error. When we got the replacement SSD from Crucial, we popped it into the accelerator bay on the 5N, and it worked instantly. So it was definitely a failure of that card. I enjoyed this whole experience because A, I learned that Crucial support is as good as everyone says it is. B, I finally learned what garbage collection means. And C, I got to play with some circuit boards. And D, the whole thing only cost us around $10. The only problem is that we're left with lingering doubt about what actually did happen to that drive. Did the drive fail because of a lack of garbage collection or not? Will our shiny new drive fail in a year or so as well? Stay tuned. All right.
So we have something odd going on here.
Uh-oh. Audio-wise?
No. Everything. I think you're okay, except for the people in Australia. So
what's happening?
Both Rose and I think a new listener named Roddles in the chat room cannot see your video.
Really?
On the iPad.
You can never see it on the iPad.
I thought it worked.
No, you can never see video, and now it doesn't work.
So Alpha Geek,
they should only be able to. Oh yeah, they might be able to do it through Alpha. I don't know.
I sent them the Alpha Geek link. Let's see if that works for them.
So that's the Alpha Geek radio link, right? Or is that Alpha Geek video?
They have both audio and video at the Alpha Geek radio site.
Why don't you try it on your iPhone? You could do that.
Could.
Yeah, the app, the Donald Burr's app definitely does not support video. From Google.
They weren't on Donald's app. They were at your site, at the website of Safari, on Safari.
Oh, okay.
I thought that would work.
I don't think it does, isn't it?
But it's not Flash, right? It's not streaming.
It might be. Very well might be.
Okay. Well, let's see what Roddle said. Same message on that link as well. Interesting.
You can steal my iPad from the one that was on top of the file cabinet here, Steve.
So it may be a country dependent thing because Sandy can see video on the iPad.
Oh, come on.
It's the two people from Australia, which is a little bit more than coincidental.
Yeah. Either you guys got a VPN? It'd be interesting to see if you could. That would be really weird.
Yeah.
Sanitation technicians. All right. That's really strange. Well, hello, Roddles. Is Roddles new here?
I think so.
All right.
So Alpha Geek is a no. This is weird.
Oh, Kevin says he'll test it on my iPad Pro. You want to try it here, though, with my...
yeah, I could.
With my Mac?
No, your Mac or your
with
iPad?
My iPad?
Yeah.
If you want to. I'm going to wait till you come get it. All right, he's disappeared.
Is there...
You know the code to unlock it?
Yeah. Is there a country... Is Google Plus Hangouts on air a country specific?
I don't have any idea. I'm the on-air talent here. Don't ask me questions. Okay. Oh, Brett says video from the Podfeed site works on my iPad. It could be a coincidence. That looks quiet. Put it back in the rowboat. Plenty loud. All right. Oh, I should check that intersection. Get all of the episodes. I've mentioned quite a few times. Okay, Mark says the app keeps crashing on him. All right, Steve, you unmute? Yes, you are. Good. Okay, here we go. I'm one of the luckiest people around to have the NosillaCastaways as my friends and supporters. One way many of you have shown your support is by using my Amazon affiliate link to buy your gadgets and sundries and such. It's actually kind of funny when I see all the stuff you guys buy. I can't see who buys what, but it's everything. I mean, it's diapers, it's tools, it's gadgets, it's clothes, it's everything. Anyway, a lot of you live outside of the US, though, and have been asking me for a long time to come up with affiliate links for the Amazon stores for your countries. This week, the most awesome Roger Nash suggested I get it in gear and make one for the UK. He was just about to make some big purchases, and he wanted to help the show with his purchases at Amazon. Well, I'm pleased to announce that we now have Amazon affiliate links for the United Kingdom, Canada, and Germany. I am so excited to have this done. I created a page called Amazon Affiliate Links by Country, and if you go there, you simply click on the pretty flag for your country. Stephen Getz found the flags for me and pushed me to get this done, so thanks to him. I also put in a form on this page where you can request a country to be added, and I'll consider doing it. If I get enough enthusiasm for a single country, I'll definitely get it going. You can also get to this page by looking under the giant Amazon logo on podfeed.com and clicking the link to the By Country page. I'm rather proud of my page of flags because I use the Flexbox model Bart taught us in episode Programming by Stealth, so no tables were harmed in the making of this web page. All right, to you, it just looks like a table, but I walked around with my chest puffed out with pride that I used cascading style sheets with HTML to make this look so good. All right, now that I've made the big announcement, let me tell you about how the sausage got made to get these affiliate links going, because it was pretty interesting. It turns out that every single Amazon Associates program is operated independently by country. So that means for each country, I have to sign an agreement, set up a payment method, and supply my tax ID information. Now, while that's a bit of a pain, it gets harder than that. In each country, you have a choice of whether to get paid by an Amazon gift card, direct deposit to your bank, or by check. Well, gift card sounds awesome. I mean, I'm going to use it on Amazon anyway. Let's do that. But it's only for that country's store, and I'm not allowed to use them. So I can't buy in Germany, right? All right, well, direct deposit, that would be great. Except that while they have a list of all of the countries you can choose from for the bank's location, the United States is never on the list for any of the countries I looked into. All right, well, check it is. Unfortunately, there's a $15 fee for every check they clear, and they only pay you after you get up to a specified amount of money because it's not worth their trouble. To minimize the impact of the $15 check fee, I set every country to be the equivalent of $100 US. Some of them would have been closer to 50, but it's like if I'm going to pay $15, might as well wait tickets to $100. All right. As an associate, I get paid a small percentage that varies by what you guys buy, but it also grows over time as I've done more business for that country store. When I first started out in the US, it was at 3%, but some stuff gets me 6% on the US store now. It looks like each country is starting me back at the 3% line. That's cool, but it means that you guys are going to have to spend over $3,000 in each country before I'll get paid my first check for $85. That's cool, though. Now that it's done, it's no work to maintain going forward, so I think it was worth it. There were some more interesting complications to this whole thing. When I signed up for the UK page where I could just click little radio buttons next to a whole bunch of other countries, there was Spain, Germany, France, and Italy. I just went click, 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 click. I was all excited. I thought I was knocking out 5 countries in one. Instead, they each sent me emails to set up my payment method and tax ID. But they sent the emails to me in their languages. So now here I've got Helma, who's asked for the German store to be turned on. She's in the Netherlands, but the German store is the best one for her. But do I dare guess whether I'm answering the right questions when I fill out the forms in German? Now, the websites I go to look close to the ones that were in English for, the England one and the US one. But is it really safe to just guess where my social security number is going to go? Well, I was going to enlist Klaus Wolf's help to help me translate at least the German state for me, but then I remembered that Google will translate pages for you. I pasted the link to the German Amazon Associates page into Google Translate, and it worked really well. Every time I moved to a new page, though, I had to click Translate again. Finally, Google said, hey, psst, if you just open this page in Chrome, I'd be able to translate continuously for you, because I was doing it in Safari. So I moved over to Chrome, and it worked flawlessly. With the exception of the buttons that graphically had German words on them, everything looked 100% as though it had been written in English by a native speaker, and it did match with the standard Amazon US one. Like I said up front, I've gone through it for Germany, Canada, and the UK, and if you think you'd use it for your country, please let me know. I'm going to rest for a bit now. I hope you guys will remember podfeet.com when you go shopping at Amazon. Oh, wait, not podfeet.com. Wait, shoot, wreck that. Hang on. I hope you guys will remember podfeet.com when you go shopping on Amazon.
Wait, what was that link?
podfeet.com. Let me think here. Like I said up front, I've go on a little bit. Get that. Go shopping at Amazon. Is it for your country? Please let me know. There it is. Right there. Let's see how that works. Boy, I get a lot of hum. I said up front, I've gone through it for Germany, Canada, and the UK, and if you think you'd use it for your country, please let me know. I hope you guys will remember podfeet.com when you go shopping on Amazon. All right, there we go.
So Kevin has proposed that you make a new one for Kevin Axtan.
That's awesome. I will get right on that. I want you guys to...
Population 1, and he's king. But he said I could be vice king.
Look how pretty this is.
What?
It looks pretty. I just posted the link.
Oh.
To my flags. Fun with flags.
Flag right there. Where's Ghibli's when you need her?
Exactly. Where is Ghibli's? Okay. This is going to be a long show. What's next? The Samsung T3. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to show. I probably showed you guys the T3 last time, didn't I? I'll show you a picture from here. This is here's the image. Thank you, Sandy. Sandy appreciates my, oops. Oh, that's interesting. No, I can't do that. That's the link to the T3. I meant to send you a picture. I can't show it to you because it's plugged in. Could eject it. Can I show it to you? Nope. Oh, yes, I can.
Don't even try.
There you can. And just go like this. There it is. That's the T3. Tiny little thing, huh? Now the camera's all messed up, huh?
Yep.
Oh, no. It's a nightmare.
A little bit higher. All right.
How's that? Okay.
Close enough.
All right. Here we go. Awesome flag page. Nick likes my flags too. Good. Yeah, I was really proud of that. It was definitely thanks to Stephen Getz too. Where's that? I need that up. All right. I'm getting the hang of this. This is going to be quick here. I mentioned a few weeks ago that I decided to move my giant okay, cancel. Photo library, giant photo library. I mentioned a few weeks ago that I decided to move my giant photo library of doom, trademark Donald Burr, off of my Mac and onto an external drive. I didn't want to sacrifice any speed, so I bought the Samsung T3 1 terabyte USB 3 drive with USB-C connectivity to accomplish this goal. As I hoped, this drive is wicked fast. But let's go through some stats, shall we? The drive is spec'd out at 450 megabytes per second. We all love the free Blackmagic's disk speed test, so we'll take a look at that first. Blackmagic showed reads of 421 megabytes per second and writes of 365 megabytes per second. I think that's the closest I've ever measured a drive to perform to its rated specs. Now remember that the Blackmagic test is designed to test your drives to see if you can use them for real-time video editing, not editing photos or copying photos, so this isn't a perfect test, but it's still interesting. The T3 did perform quite well for all but the highest level video editing, which was still pretty cool. I put a picture in the show notes so you can see which ones it would tick off. I'm not going to read them all because there's like 100 of them and it'd get real boring. Well, let's look at a more practical application for most people listening. I moved my 400 gigabyte photo library over to the drive, and the speed, I started watching it real time with iStat menus, and it started in the high 200 megabyte per second range. Then it peaked at 398 megabytes per second. At the very last few minutes of the copy, though, it dropped back down to a bit under 200 megabytes per second. The entire 400 gig drive file, I should say, or gob of files, moved in a little under 34 minutes, which is pretty amazing. I didn't catch the exact end of it, so I'm not exactly sure how long, but it was less than 34 minutes. I think one thing that could have been going on there in the change in speed is there were some videos in there, so maybe the little files were going real fast and the videos were a little bit slower. I'm not really sure. I can definitely say, though, that I recommend the Samsung T3 1 terabyte USB-C SSD, USB 3 and USB-C. As a reminder from last week, that's going to run you $428 on Amazon right now. They also have the 500 gigabyte model going for $218 and a 250 gig version for $130 if you aren't as much of a disc hog as I am. All right. And we are at 1606. Wait, that was T3. This is Joe on Authy. All right, we have a new contributor to the show.
But before we do that, Richard is a little bit late to the chat room.
Uh-oh, Richard.
I think he's buying.
You know the rules, Richard. Yeah, you're definitely buying, no doubt about that. That's the rules. I don't make the rules, okay? Rose made the rules, just so you know. All right. Glad you noticed he was tardy, Steve. Oh, videos would transfer faster. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is Rose leaving? Stand behind me and nobody else won't notice. Nice. Before I tell you the tale of how I moved my giant photos library to the T3 SSD, let's cleanse our palettes now with a lister. Actually, I don't like the way that's written. That's not what I want to say. Not quite. Copying my giant photo library to the T3 was the first half of the story, but getting it to be my system photo library is a whole nother story. But before I tell you that tale, let's cleanse our palettes with a listener review from Joe LaGreca. Joe is a new friend from the new Facebook group, podfeed.com/Facebook. Anyway, he was chatting away in our Facebook group about how he uses Authy for two-factor authentication. I suggested he do a review for the podcast, which is how I punish anyone helpful, right? He explained that between his job and family, it really wasn't in the cards for him. I wrote back and told him that I love to have people do reviews because they learn how darn hard and time-consuming this is when they try to do it for themselves. Would you believe that in about a half hour, he sent me a fabulous audio review complete with the full text and the problem to be solved? Man, that took all the fun out of torturing him. Anyway, let's hear Joe's most excellent review. All right. Should I put Joe on another track? Just in case. I think I will. Actually, I think I figured out I can just drag into Amadeus Pro and get the track comes in just fine. Okay, what do you think I did with this audio review? Joe, there it is. Man, I'm good. All right, let's just drag that in here. Did it add a track? Yes, and it named it with the right name, and it put it in the totally wrong place. All right, that's perfect. So I need it to jump to 17 minutes. So I can go to Joe's track, sound track, shift track. What did I just say? Did I say 17? Sure.
42.
Not 42. Oh, Joe came in stereo. That's interesting. All right, let's hear how Joe comes in here. All the fun out of torturing him. Anyway, let's hear Joe's most excellent review.
Hello, NosillaCast listeners. This is Joe LaGreca from San Diego, California. Let's start with the problem to be solved. Two-factor authentication is great from a security standpoint.
That's your tease. In there. All right. All right, let me see. Why is that doing that? There we go. Doggone it. Joe even answered my question about why not to use 1Password. Great review, Joe. Now that I know you can crank these out easily, I'm going to be goading you into doing a lot more. When I drink beer and podcast, I burp a lot. You know why I don't drink wine? I drool when I drink wine and podcast. I tried that once. Doggone it. Ooh, that's way too close.
And when you drink a martini?
Yeah, we aren't going to talk about the Great Martini episode. For any of you who weren't here at the time, martinis hit me really quickly. I'm just saying. I forgot Lindsay's name at one point. So,
Place is not as secure.
Doggone it. Yeah.
Separate pieces of information. I feel that keeping those two separate pieces of information in the same place is not as secure.
Doggone it. Joe even answered my question about why not to use 1Password. Great review, Joe. Now that I know you can crank these out easily. Oh, cool. Richard sent a thing about the ice festival where he lives. He has a blog. Richard, email me that because I don't have time to switch over and look at other stuff. I would love to look at that, Richard. That would be cool. All right. Okay. Oh, what's our time here? Time. I'm marking the time just in case I can figure out how to do 43. Did Brett's sad that he missed it. Sybil's got warm milk. I think it's best if Sybil doesn't drink. I'm just saying. Sybil's nutty enough on her own. Kirshen, did you figure out how I'm going to edit the XML after this? All right, here we go. All right, back to my shiny new Samsung T3 USB 3 external SSD. Let's figure out if I can Don't add lib. Whenever you hear me really screw up, it's because I tried to do it without paying attention. All right, back to my shiny new Samsung T3 USB 3 external SSD. Let's see if I can figure out how to use this for my real photos library. Now, since everyone doesn't use photos, let me explain some details of the complexity of how this works. Photos, like its predecessors, iPhoto and Aperture, can handle multiple libraries, but only one library is special, and it's called the System Photo Library. The System Photo Library is special because it's the only one that can be shared via iCloud Photo Library. I have a few little photo libraries, but I'm going to move my big System Photo Library. That's the one that syncs across with my MacBook, 2 iPads, and an iPhone. Now that I have a copy of my library over on the external T3 SSD, I need to tell the Mac to open that library instead of my internal library. As with most Apple applications, like iTunes does this, you simply hold down the Option key when you're launching Photos, and it allows you to select a different library to open. It normally shows you the ones you have internally, but it also has a button for Other Library, which allowed me to open the new one over on the T3. Next came a very terrifying message. I would like to read it to you. It said, "This library contains items that need to download from iCloud Photo Library. To download the complete library, delete the incomplete items, then set this library as the System Photo Library in Preferences and enable iCloud Photo Library. This will disable iCloud Photo Library on any other libraries. The only option here was to quit or delete incomplete items. The message was too cryptic to understand what it meant, so I went to the Apple discussion boards to see if anyone else had cracked the code. I found tons of people asking the same question, saying, "What do you think this means?" They were speculating on what it meant, but none of them had a clear answer. After a day or two, I went back, closed my eyes, and clicked delete incomplete items, and nothing bad happened. Remember, I have a lot of backups. I have like 3 backups of this, so I was pretty unworried, but still, it could have been a little less cryptic. But after just a few seconds from when I hit delete, my photos library on the external T3 opened up without issues. I was relieved. Next, I opened up Photos Preferences as instructed, and under General, clicked the option to Use as System Photo Library. And that's when I saw a message that was too scary to keep going without adult supervision. It said, "Switching the system photo library will turn off iCloud Photo Library. Any photos and videos that have not been fully downloaded will be removed from this Mac. Turn on iCloud Photo Library for this new system photo library and preferences." I was not going to push OK on that one until I was sure what it meant. I wanted to talk to Apple anyway because I wanted to see if there was going to be a path where all of my photos wouldn't have to stream up to the cloud and back down again. With a library this big, even with good bandwidth, it takes literally weeks for the photos to travel round trip to the cloud and back down to all of my other devices. Well, I rang up AppleCare and I got my little friend Erica on the phone. Erica was awesome. She was knowledgeable and fun and knew exactly what was going on here. She explained the process I was going to go through. The warning about removing items not fully downloaded is intended to let you know that if you don't have the originals locally, the optimized images will be removed. And that makes sense when you think about it. If you have only optimized images and you're switching libraries, under normal circumstances, those would be completely different photos, so you'd need the old ones removed. In my case, though, she assured me that my local originals would be intact after pushing OK. Before letting me proceed, though, she suggested we go to iCloud.com and verify that my most recent photos are really up in the cloud. Would you believe I had no idea I could see my photos at iCloud.com? Well, since I have this giant library, it turned out it was going to take a while for her to prepare the photos to show me, so I tried to entertain Erica as long as I could in hopes that it would finish and she could actually see it. Even though I showed her my website, I told her about the podcast, and I vamped as long as I could, it was taking too long to logically keep her on the phone. She told me that when it finished, I should verify that my most recent photos were already up in the cloud. If the most recent were up there, then the process she was about to give me should work. She said, first select the new system photo library, which would turn off iCloud, that big, dangerous, scary message, but I'd be okay. But then immediately I should turn iCloud back on with the new library. She assured me that it would switch over quickly and photos would not re-upload all of my photos again. I had another thought I ran past her. It would be super cool. Now, this is asking for a lot. What if I could move this shiny new little external SSD back and forth between my 2 Macs and have it be the system photo library for both computers? I asked her if by any chance that would actually work, and she said absolutely. She said she'd helped a photographer do that exact thing a few days before. I was delighted. Erica made sure I had backups in my library before she let me go, and I told her I was afraid to do it by myself and that I wanted her to hold my hand, but she said, "You got this, girl." All right, we hung up. Eventually, I was able to check with iCloud.com, and it was all right. So I followed her instructions, and sure enough, I was able to re-enable iCloud Photo Library on the new library. Do you know what happened, right? You can see this coming a mile away. The photos started streaming up to the cloud. Seriously, uploading 61,498 items. Well, I called back to AppleCare while this was going on. I got my new little friend, Alex. Luckily, I'd opened Clarify and taken screenshots of every step as I'd followed Erica's instructions. So when Alex did a screen share with me, he could see step by step exactly what I'd done. He didn't have to rely on my memory or my poor descriptions. He could see the images of everything I'd done. He told me that Erica's information was absolutely correct. He would have told me to do exactly what I did. He did not understand why it was uploading those files again. He spoke to a senior advisor, and the advisor told Alex that I should have command dragged the library to the other disk so that it moved instead of being copied. That was kind of interesting. He said had I done that, it would have worked as we'd hoped. And that actually kind of makes sense to me because photos wouldn't be looking at a copy of the library. It would be looking at the same library it had always been looking at. Well, since the copy only takes like a half an hour, but the upload's going to take weeks, I told Alex I'd like to try again and start over. But of course, that opens up the question of whether that would bork my library if I stop halfway through this upload. I mean, what's going to happen to iCloud? That could get really weird. I also asked Alex whether I have now used 800 gigabytes of my cloud storage instead of 400 gigabytes. Do I have two of them up there? Alex decided at this point my questions were getting too hard and he'd send me up to a senior advisor. Unfortunately, Alex handed me off to an advisor I can only call Charles. Charles was no help at all. Evidently, he was not the advisor who'd suggested moving rather than copying the library. He said the other advisor was wrong about that. That didn't make any sense. He tried to convince me that the photos were not going up a second time. He was screen sharing with me and I showed him the iCloud window showing status, I guess the photos window that shows the iCloud status, where it said uploading 61,485 items, 4.3 gigabytes of 325.73 gigabytes done. I showed him the graph and I-step menus from my network that showed lots and lots of spikes of traffic that coincided directly with the upload shown by iCloud. He completely ignored these rather scientific, fact-based metrics and instead had two things to back up his opinion that it wasn't happening. Number one, this one kills me. He said, I know somebody who did this with their library once and it didn't duplicate all their photos. Okay. And two, he was watching my item count on iCloud Photos and it wasn't going up. So they couldn't have been being duplicated. So he basically used anecdotal evidence to support his claim and wouldn't admit that my facts were perhaps more compelling. Well, I'm not 100% sure that he was wrong in spite of his idiotic ways of getting there. It still just really bugs me. It's like, I know someone who did this once. Now, that's not what a senior advisor's for. You're supposed to have facts. Anyway, I'm not sure he's wrong. While Photos was running for, it ran for quite a while, and I'll get to the end of that story in a minute. Most of the time it was running, it says adding items, and only occasionally does it say uploading. When it says uploading, I can see the network traffic, but when it says adding, there's very little network traffic. The only thing I could figure is that it's going through every single photo and checking to see if it's there, and some reasonably large percentage of the photos had not actually ever been uploaded. Turns out that after 40 straight hours of uploading, Photos showed 191 gigabytes of 199 gigabytes uploaded. I never saw it actually finish, but when I came back to the house 8 hours later than that, it was finished. So I think it finished maybe right around 40 hours. I remain baffled as to why it did any uploads, why it uploaded only half the volume of data, and how it got it done so quickly. However, my Macs, my iPhone, and my iPads, again, have all of my photos, and they're updating as I add more, so all is right with the world. Now, I remain baffled as to why it did any uploads, why it uploaded only half the volume of data, and how it got it done so quickly. However, my Macs, my iPhone, and my iPads, again, have all of my photos and are updating as I add more. So, all's right with the world. Now, here's the question. Do I feel lucky trying to use the external SSD with my MacBook? And yes, I said that twice in case anybody was paying attention. I missed anything good?
We had another latecomer. You may have heard of this person, Bob.
Honda Bob.
Honda Bob is in the house.
Woohoo! Hey, Honda Bob.
He rode his motorcycle.
Oh, you got to ride
yesterday.
the Gullwing?
Yeah.
Yay! You've been waiting for that, huh?
Yep.
Fantastic. You have links to it, to a picture to show anybody? That's a hot motorcycle. I'm not really a fan of motorcycles in general, but I know they make you happy, so. I remain baffled. Okay, good. There we go. Come on. A little more run there. How about right there? Hours later than that, it was finished. So I think it finished maybe right around 40 hours. I remain baffled as to why it did. God, this editor is so good. You can't hear that cut at all. Oh, he gets a pass. I don't know. He's past the 100-day mark. He's not sick anymore. No sympathy. Charles.
So Brett was commenting when you brought up Charles. I don't know if you saw in the chat room that at least you didn't say it a million times in a row like last week.
Well, that's a good point. You guys will never forget who Charles is, right? Oh dear. The only thing I'm worried about is that somebody named Charles is going to call in and go, "Do you have to keep mocking me every time you talk about somebody?" I was afraid I was a little bit subtle that time. So let's see. I think. What? You just laughed about something else? What are you laughing about there, Steve?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, fine. All right, let me bring up.
I think you scared Bob away, though. He's gone.
Gone?
Yeah.
All right, closing out the show. Here we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions, or your reviews like the amazing Joe Greca. That was awesome. You can do this by emailing me at Allison@podfeet.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Podfeet. And I'm going to do this over again because I was looking for my notes. What was the guy's name that was new here? He left.
He's back and is Roddles.
What is
although
Roddles?
He never confirmed, she never confirmed first time, but I've never seen him or her here. I think Roddles is
from Australia. That's what we'll go with.
Yep.
I had it written down somewhere and it disappeared.
Unless it's Guy.
Well, he said he was in Australia, or she said they were in Australia, right?
Yeah.
He. All right. He. Here we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions, or your reviews like the amazing Joe LaGreca. You can do that by emailing me at Allison@podfeet.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Podfeet. Check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community at podfeet.com/Google+, and our Facebook group over at podfeet.com/Facebook. If you want to join in the fun of the live show like Roddles from Australia did this week, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
So Roddles did confirm. Just joined the Facebook page, decided to check out the live show, been downloading the podcast for years.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. What was that? Was the moving photos. So I keep asking and then not looking for the answer whether Kirshen. Oh, Sandy wants the animals. Let's see. Oh, I don't even have to be there. That is so cool. Whether Kirshen found me a way to edit the ID3 tags. My MacBook. Okay, here on that. Oh, he gave his Twitter handle. Question: do I feel lucky trying to use the external SSD with my MacBook? Well, that's going to wind us up. All right, Steve is going to find the animals. We got to make sure. Let's see. Rod.
They're getting too big to bring them two at a time.
Uh-oh, you can't bring him two at a time.
She's really sneaky.
Come down lower, get to the camera. There's Ada Beta. Ada is a monster. She's always eating something, doing something. She has learned how to open the screen door and gets out all the time now.
Okay.
Ah!
Over here.
Tessa, your audience
Let's
loves
say
you.
Turn around.
Come here. Wait, she's in front of the mic. There we
Say
go.
hi. Hello, everybody. Hello.
You really shouldn't encourage him, Sandy. All right, that's good. Let's see. Where was I? I was going to cut that off just a teeny bit. There's Tesla. I don't know where Grace ran off to. Grace disappears from time to time. And pull that in just a smidge. I like that a little better. Use the external SSD with my MacBook. Well, that's going to wind us up. That sounds too close to feel lucky trying to use the external SSD with my MacBook. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Oh, that's all right. Bob's back. I feel like Boo from Monsters, Inc. Do you talk like Boo, Nick? Let's see. Outro needs to go to 30 minutes. I just figured that out. That's so cool. Tracks. Shift track. I just figured out that it's not as hard as I thought. It's perfect. Perfect. Okay, and you're going to go right there. Okay, It's a nice feature in Amadeus Pro that makes my life a little easier. Let's listen to the ending here. Like the amazing Joe LaGreca. You can do that by emailing me at Alice. Why did that? This week, do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions, or your reviews like the amazing Joe LaGreca. You can do that by emailing me at Allison@podfeed.com. Okay, that's interesting. You can follow me on Twitter at. I hope that didn't happen very often. Did you guys hear that? My voice disappears. LaGreca. You can do that by emailing me at Alice.
Yes, I heard that twice.
Oh, well,
they were very short though, half second. I don't think it's worth fretting over.
Okay, good. Don't forget to take the shuttle back, trying to avoid the transporter. Well, I think I'll fix this one. That one's easy to redo. There we go. Third time's the charm. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at Allison@podfeed.com. Hey, you can send in reviews like the amazing Joe LaGreca. You can also follow me on Twitter at Podfeed and check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community at podfeed.com/Google Plus and our Facebook group at podfeed.com/Facebook. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, like Rod from Australia did, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right. Did you hear it at all then? I might have to have you. Well, why wouldn't I hear it? I'm monitoring my own voice.
I didn't hear it that time.
Well, I know, but before you did hear it and I didn't, and I'm monitoring my own voice, so I should have heard it.
Well, but you're also hearing your voice in your head, and that may, if for a slight,
may override it if there's
for a half-second gap, that would be tough.
Yeah, that's true. That's not good. All right, let's hear the ending here. Friendly and enthusiastic. Oh. NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Yep. We got 2 people from Tasmania. We're so eclectic. All right, so save, and now I'm going to bounce to new file 557. We're just going to make it skid under the wire. Kitty! Now I want to watch Monsters, Inc. again, Steve. Has it been long enough that you can watch it again?
Which one?
Monsters, Inc.
1, 2?
Is there more than one?
Yeah.
I don't think we own 2, do we?
We may not own 2, but we've seen it. Ronald's is from Healesville, Victoria. Oh, interesting.
AIFF. Where's the AIF? There it is. NCF. Save. I want to go back to Australia and New Zealand, Steve. All right.
Sounds good to me.
No, you said we have to go to where do we have to go next? You want to go to Costa Rica next?
That doesn't mean we can't go afterwards to Australia, New Zealand.
Let's just go travel all the time. All right, I'll find a leveler. Okay, it is 5:58. I should probably let the class go. It was very nice to meet you, Rod. Very cool. Oh, Steve, did you see when you were off fetching animals, Rod gave us his Twitter handle there?
Yes, I got that. It's entered in our spreadsheet.
Yes.
Put them on the list.
Do you guys know that there's a magic decoder ring? We have a link to that on podfeed.com/live, right? So you can see everybody's Twitter handle.
I can put it in the chat room here.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice if you're trying to figure out who the heck Kevin is. You can look in there and find out it's big in Virginia, or sometimes Poo-Poo Head. By the way, Kevin, did you know I sent Steve's dad the screenshot Steve took of the live chat room with everybody saying happy birthday to him last week, and it said Kevin Poo-Poo Head. You didn't notice though. I'm surprised. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it. I'm sad to show you that we didn't have a crash and burn. That's not as exciting as last week, but I enjoyed it more. I can tell you that. So I'm gonna say goodbye to the app people. Goodbye, app people. And now goodbye to the video people. Say goodbye, Steve.
Goodbye, Steve.